Okay, Adam, we're taking a look at your landscape shots here. So I'm looking at all your thumbnails. These look good. I can see where you did the exposure compensation down there. So let's dive in. Okay, let's see what the first one is here. So here you are in U City. Okay, this looks fine. I'm seeing you got an ISO speed of 160 here, and that the focal length, I'm not sure what camera you have. This might be like a Sony or something. I can't tell what that is. But certainly a 30th of a second is, you're shooting down at somewhat slow, and you can see you got a little bit of camera shake right here on this pole. Now, you might want to consider in terms of like composition, to maybe get it a little bit closer and maybe view through here, because your pole kind of obscures a little bit of your landscape here too. So you might want to pay more attention to in terms of elements in your picture that that might like divide the picture like the pole does here. Okay, in terms of a shot, looks good. Like this composition much better. You can see, at a 30th of a second, any kind of camera shake, if you move the camera a little bit, you're going to get, especially towards the edges, a little bit of like camera movement right here. But in terms of being able to shoot a cityscape, this works fine. Whatever camera that you're using, just based on the fact that it's got a really wide angle lens, will give you a really big depth of field in the picture here too. So other things you might want to try, you might even think about, is like maybe getting down, instead of standing at eye level, get down closer towards the Walk of Fame stars and stuff that down there, and give it kind of a different perspective. Now this is interesting. I like the fact that you did something wide angle. Now it's a little bit more telephoto, and the fact that all the lights have this kind of nice, they line up and recede into the distance there. That turned out nice. Okay, and this is also a really nice time of the day to shoot. I always love right around dusk, the kind of light that's left in the sky. So okay, looks good. You might want to consider, some of the other compositions a little didn't have like, this is a little bit distracting. So you might want to get in, maybe shoot from the front of the car looking that way, in terms of, if you had a chance to shoot this, and when you're going out and shoot, make sure you shoot a bunch of different shots too, so you have a little bit more to choose from. And then the fact that you shot this later in the night, that's great. I love the comparison, to be able to see that, and the fact that you moved your ISO up to 800, that's great. That worked out great. So you definitely need to be able to do that. And now your shutter speed's a 15th of a second. Looks pretty sharp, but when you're trying to hand hold something like that, it's getting down pretty low. Okay, so now we got out in the woods here, ISO 64. Okay, great. That looks great. Kind of a cloudy day out by the river. This is a nice, you see how this kind of triangular, you got all these triangles going here, which is really nice. You got this triangle kind of the river, got this triangle of the bank of the on the side here. You got this triangle of trees right here. So real interesting that triangles really add to, in terms of the composition. ISO of 64, that's the right, when you're shooting outside there, that's great. Okay, yeah, so whenever you're out shooting landscapes, it's always interesting to try shooting, I mean, what you've done here for the assignment just works out just great. It's just fine. But try shooting things from maybe lower or higher vantage points, just to change it up. Kind of like what you did with the telephoto shot when you were shooting in the loop. That telephoto shot, changed things up a little bit and gives you a little bit different perspective. So that worked really well. Okay, yeah, tough. Whenever you're shooting on a gray day like this, it's always tough to kind of bring out details of things. But I'm really glad you got out and got a chance to do a little hiking around. Now, as I'm looking at this right here, I see all this great interesting things right here, and if you have access to Photoshop or something like that to edit, you can do a little cropping or whatever. But the foreground here, not quite as interesting as maybe what's like back in the background back here. This is really nice back there. Okay, now in terms of this looks good. There's a certain something about when you had the lamppost in the loop where it kind of split your picture, but when you have a consistency like this, this actually adds to the pattern of the actual image itself. So I do like the fact that you use these vertical elements of the trees to break up the solid plane of the river. So that worked out quite well. Okay, and this one, nice peaceful feeling to it. Just trying to think about in terms of cropping. This looks like something that you could experiment with cropping the picture. Maybe chopping a little bit off the sky here. It's always, when you've got very simple kind of elements of your photo, it's always kind of nice to sort of look at and maybe play around with just to see what else you might get. But in terms of the shot, it looks just fine. Okay, good. So I'm glad that you got a nice variety of shots of this river. And then this element right here, I probably would have avoided that. Maybe would have moved around the other side of it or something. Unless you were intentionally using this soft element to really reinforce the sharper elements of things out here. In which case, maybe if you had used another thing over here to frame it, that would be effective. This is nice that you shot a vertical shot here instead of having everything be pretty much mostly horizontal kinds of shots. And definitely this might be like a really nice black and white looking kind of image too. This has some nice contrast and some nice detail right in here. Good. And the same thing here too. It's got lots of nice detail. And I might have cropped a little bit off, I imagine these photos are just coming right out of your camera, but you might want to experiment with them if you have the, something that you can play with, photo processing software like Photoshop or something else. Now this is real interesting because you've got these little weeds over here which are kind of framing everything, and it's kind of nice because then the river doesn't trail off out of the picture. This stops it and kind of keeps your attention right in here, and you also have this kind of nice also bending tree up here too that keeps your focus right in towards the center there. That turned out quite nice. And I see these interesting little roots over here too, so love the fact that you've got a bunch of different shots here. Now here's something like what I was talking about. You have an unexpected element in the picture here. This is really nice, the fact that you used this gate to do a little framing. There might be also something where maybe you're looking through the gate, where you can try out different things. But I love the fact that you were experimenting, because this is not like a conventional kind of shot. So what you did there was really quite nice. I like this. This is this element of the tree here, the crook in the tree framing things. That worked out quite nice. Oh, here you got your exposure compensation. Well done. It's one of those things where, and maybe you did an HDR shot here too. Oh, so you put up here HDR. That's great. Have I been missing some of your comments? Let's see. Yeah, so maybe I've been missing some of your comments there. Okay. But fantastic. The fact that you even know what HDR is, that is great. So very well done. you got some nice images. You've got some certainly some things that you can work with, and I love the fact that you went out and shot a lot of different images, and that you went to, you also shot in the city and then also out in the country too. So great job, Adam.